Hey everyone, this is Delta Acklute. Want to take a few minutes and go over my timeline park. Um, so this is stage one, and my idea overall was that I wanted to make a fairly realistic park, and I wanted everything to be linked to specific real life years. So this is supposed to be an old campground that was unprofitable because there was an airport put in, and so the airplane traffic was bad for a, bad for a campsite. So, basically, the idea behind stage one is we just have some common traveling rides like this Looping Star recreation and this, wacky worm dragon wagon, and then a scrambler, a magic carpet, and a carousel. Just some very standard traveling rides. And then the old picnic grove from the campground stayed in, a restroom building, and then the old general store could get repurposed. And just a very basic entrance. Because the vibe I wanted to go for was just very much, it's literally traveling rides plopped down on a field. The start of something, but nothing great. So I had a lot of fun making the landscaping of this too. So we have an old hiking trail that went through the wilderness back here. There's a lake with a canoe. This would have been the old tent camping area, and someone forgot to turn the water off. And then a couple of bridges back here, and this is the titular Wolf River that Wolf River Park is named after. So this is stage one is very much just traveling rides plopped in a field, but as you can tell, we're gonna get some more interesting stuff. So this is supposed to be 1983, and stage two. Every stage has moved forward 4 years. So now we are in 1987, and we have the first permanent tracked ride in the park, an Aero Mine Train. Aero Mine Trains were huge at this time in the 70s, or in the 80s. A couple people pointed out in the reviews that, why does it have 3 lift hills? Well, Aero Mine Trains were kind of notorious for being very rambly and having multiple lift hills. It's kind of the charm of them. They're not very well designed, but if you have some interesting terrain to take advantage of, then you can do some fun things with them. I had not seen it done before, but to use the RMC hybrid track, because in real life, these are 2 pieces of tubular steel on a wooden support structure with no center spine. And that's pretty much what RMC track is, except it's, square instead of tubular. But I think it really captures the aesthetic of an old Aero Mine Train very well. The other notable addition was this arcade that I made here. And if I turn on cutaway view, we can peek inside. So there's 3 different arcade machines here. We have I need to go up. There we go. We have a, shooting the ducks game, as well as a one of those, I don't know what they're called, where you have the water gun that you shoot and you try to hit the target. And then on the other side, we have some skee ball. A cool thing that I did here was there's actually an invisible stall inside one of these, so that guests will, have a reason to pathfind in here, and will actually, step up and pretend to quote unquote play the game. Then also in the back here we have an employee break room with a motivational hang in there poster. I kind of wanted to get like a cheesy family entertainment center kind of vibe in here. Yeah, so that's the Midway Arcade. And if we go over here, looks like someone finally did shut the water off. Yeah, so that is it for Stage 2 in 1987. So now, let's go another 4 years forward to Stage 3. So, one of the things I was hearing in reviews was I have a lot of roller coasters and not many thrill rides. So this stage, I aimed to remedy that with a top spin here named Eruption Force. The stupid recolorable geysers, they look really bad in their normal color, but if you recolor them, you can get some decent effects, like the lava spurting up here. Don't worry, it's not actual lava, it's just colored water. And then Prehistoric Plunge, an Aerolog Flume. If we go over here, we have a dinosaur jump scare, which is, which it's very simple. It's just a powered launch at 2 miles an hour with one piece of track that extends out and up, so it'll just poke out of the bushes and then go back. Yeah. So that is it for this stage, but oh, what's this? We have some construction going on over here. I had fun making these little vehicles. So, fun little behind the scenes thing. I had actually built the ride that will go in this place before I realized that I shouldn't add another roller coaster. And so I saved the track design, deleted it, and then built the stuff down here. Also, this is the stage where the map gets a little bigger, because I wanted to put in a, big entrance plaza down the line, and there's no room for that. So, but that is it for Stage 3. Now we are on to Stage 4 in 1995. So, this is where we have a Din roller coaster that I called Grizzly. Din is an alright manufacturer. They're not one of my favorites, but, they made a lot of double out and backs, and so that was a nice way that I could go over the river. Yeah. And I really like how this turned out. Also, a common thing on wooden coasters at the time was to be a sign at the top that says, "Don't stand up." Yeah. So, I also really like how this sign turned out. It's, the Kremlin drab step-up pieces on either side of it, just sunk into the ground a little bit. It's a cool effect. Those are kind of underrated pieces. Yeah. So, I believe that was all that changed this round. But there's now some more stuff going on over here. So, now we move on to Stage 5 in 1999. So, this ended up being a lot bigger than I planned for it to be. Because the first thing I wanted to do was make a new entrance to the park. So, in fiction, this is when the park gets bought by Cedar Flags, because this is supposed to represent just a, generic American, chain park. And so, the idea being that they bought the park, and the first big investment in it is make a proper entrance instead of these little gates over here, which I kept as a staff entrance. So that parking lot stayed and is now a staff parking lot. I tried doing something with using log bumps to make the cars not all look straight, and it did not look great. Yeah, that gets changed, don't worry. But, so one thing about this entrance, the actual entrance to the park is in the actual building underneath the Wolf River Park sign. Everything else, this is just path. I've seen people do it other ways, but in my opinion, if you have the entrance to the park farther away, then that means guests will sometimes wander out of the park and then back in and then out and then in, and that just looks weird. I much prefer having the actual pathfindable entrance being where the actual entrance is, and then, guests will just walk through the path, but to each their own. There's also a little plaza here with some, there's an actual sit-down restaurant, which the park did not have before, and then a couple of shops, a new flat ride, and I really like the look of the double-decker carousel, so I wanted to put one here as the kind of centerpiece of this entrance. And then, of course, we have a plot here saying new thrills are on the way. There's also a couple of dumpsters back here. Oops, I don't remember if there's anything interesting in here. So, okay, so this is a gift shop, this is a candy store, and then there's like this seating area for the pizza company. And, yeah. So, yeah, we actually have something that's looking a lot more like a proper park now. So then the other major change was the kids area. The Dragon Wagon, being a portable coaster by nature, was moved from its original plot over here into the new kids area. The Kid Zone, if you will. This is kind of based on Kidsopolis from Great America, which is my home park. So that's there. We have a pirate playset, which has a mini golf running through it, so that guests will walk up and then go down the slides. Then a bunch of invisible path with jumping fountains on it. So the other reason for having a chain buyout is that I could then put references to my previous parks in the car ride. I absolutely love it when theme parks have references to, other rides in the park, other rides at other parks in the chain. I don't know, it feels like a cohesive experience to me. So, going over those quickly, Ragnarok and Roll Radio is a reference to my Dueling Wooden Coasters contest, which was themed around Norse mythology. O'Hare Airport is just based on signs that are around O'Hare that are, somewhat of a joke for people in the Chicago area. Wolf River Mining Company is the mine train across the park, obviously. Then it goes up into this forested area where there's no signs, then back into the manicured area where we have Oasis Oil, which is a reference to my, which park was that? That was the water coaster contest. Yeah, because that was Egyptian themed. Cedar Systems, because Cedar Flags is the chain that owns it. And then Midgard Motors is, again, a reference to the Dueling Wooden Coasters contest. Oh, and then Garou Gas as a reference to Garou, which was the Halloween contest from 2021. So, those are what the signs mean. Yeah. So that's the kids area. There's also a little cloud hopper, which is just an upward launch at 2 miles an hour, and the laydown trains. And using the snowflakes to make little clouds. So, yeah. That is it for this stage. Now, we are on to stage 6. So this is 2003, and we have some new stuff here. I really like the look of S&S Power Towers, and so we have 2 turbo drops and 1 space shot, and as is normal for parks, with 3, the turbo drops have a much longer line. Even though, in my opinion, space shots are more fun. The Twister got a new home over here, and a nice new plaza with some gardens. The Mine Train now exits through a gift shop, which is combined into so half of it is a gift shop, and then the other half is a staff break room. We also have the Chicken Shack, which I thought was an original name, but it turns out that that's a chicken restaurant that Cedar Fair uses. Why are those not invisible? Too late. Yeah, the Chicken Shack, with some nice little seating out here. I believe that's it. Oh, also, it is not it. The structural integrity of the log flume was called into question, so it's now got the bobsled track underneath it. It's got a steeper drop, and it's reinforced with RMC track underneath, which makes it look a lot better. And then we also have the Dodgin' Dinos, a Dodgems that is much more thematically appropriate for the Jurassic Jungle section of the park, as opposed to the old 1001 Nights ride that was there. So, that is everything new in 2003. Alright, so now we have another area added to the park. This is the Olympic Valley section. So it's not really mentioned in my either in the entry or in any of the stories, but there are themed areas for the park. Obviously this is just the entrance plaza, but over here from the Mine Train to Grizzly, I could have done a better job theming it. It's the frontier town area, and then the Looping Star and the arcade into the Space Shot is sort of like a midway theme. I was going to do more to theme these, but I didn't have time. But the new themed area that I do a better job of theming is the Olympic Valley. But before we get there, we have a large food court with subs and stir fry. And then, Shen Kitchen's on break. So the highlights of this area are a very large invert named Fury, named after the Hades servants, the Furies. So you start off by going through this tunnel, and then the queue goes through this garden area, the Garden of Persephone, before you go into a temple and board the train. I had a lot of fun making this, but inverts are not the easiest type of ride to make in this game. The lack of a true zero-G roll, for example, makes this kind of difficult, but you do what you can. Then, so Icarus is a giant frisbee ride, and so every time that I've gone to visit Cedar Point, their ride like this, Max Air, has been closed. It's, kind of a joke that it's almost never running, so you can really easily recreate the look of one in RCT, but getting one that actually functions is near impossible. Yeah, this is never going to be open. And poor Dirklink over here is going to try to fix it, but I don't think he's ever going to. Then, what's this? We have some surveyors out here. It's almost like we're going to be expanding out here. Oh, another thing that was added in this stage. All of the rides now have flags on them at the top of the lift hill, because I think that's a cute touch when parks do that. So, there's the 4 on Looping Star. Each lift hill of the mine train has different colored ones. There's some big ones on top of the power tower. So, yeah, I always find that as a really nice touch when parks have things like that. So, now we are on to Stage 8. I love GCI wooden coasters, and so I wanted to make one in this park. This is Artemis, after the goddess of the hunt, and kind of takes you, roaring through the wilderness back here. There's also a rapids ride that goes underneath it, which, trying to get the rapids ride to go underneath it and still have a believable support structure was quite a challenge, but here we are. I'm also not that great at making rapids rides, but I think this turned out pretty nice. So I also quite like this plaza here, with the beginning of the aqueduct that goes into this little fountain here. So, yes, Artemis is might be my favorite ride that I built in this entry, in this entire year-long contest. Not sure. So yeah, now the Olympic Valley is a complete loop. And now we move on to Stage 9. So, with each entry being a different month, this was the one in October. So, all of the trees that were, they were recolorable versions of trees, because I specifically planned from the beginning that they would be painted for the fall one. So I changed the palette and then repainted all the trees. I made a backup save before I started this because I didn't want to paint all the trees and then have to paint them back. So the notable new addition for this month is the disco coaster named Zephyr. These are surprisingly fun rides, and yeah, they can be recreated in RCT pretty well. Also, just a fun little touch, the Rapids ride and the log flume are both drained because it's October and they're not running. So then there's also various extremely tacky Halloween decorations, like, oh no, we're gonna put pumpkins everywhere. Oh, some skulls. Yeah, Halloween events are always just very cheesy. Oh my goodness. I forgot I did that. I renamed the triple play to the triple sleigh. Yeah, not proud of that one. And then I put a B-movie giant spider ride in the fountain at the front. So I repurposed the queue for Prehistoric Plunge and turned it into one for this themed haunted house. And there's another one over here called The Crypt. We also added a shop building and restrooms. So, yeah. I really like the look of fall palettes in this game. It can look Very nice. Also, one thing that was mentioned in the story is make sure you get your last rides in on Grizzly before it closes at the end of the season. I wonder what that's about. So, Stage 10 had 2 new roller coasters. The original Dragon Wagon has been replaced with a Gravity Group Family Woody. I've only ridden one, Kentucky Flyer, but it's honestly a really great ride. Front row and back row are very different experiences, and especially for the size it is, it packs quite a punch. So I really like the neon color look. Yeah. So that is Wolfie's Wild Ride. That was kind of a last-minute addition to this park. For this stage, the main thing is that Grizzly has been RMC'd and is now Iron Grizzly. This was the plan from the start. When I built the Din Woody, I knew that I was going to RMC it in a later stage. And in, 2019, like 2017 through 19, that time span is pretty realistic for a wooden coaster from the early 90s to be getting too rough and for RMC to come in and do their thing. So yeah, it's kind of cool. This trip around here is actually done in reverse as compared to the original Grizzly. And all of the original footers are still there because it's expensive to take footers out. So, yeah. It's a little bit taller than the original, a little bit faster, and it has some inversions and more airtime, just like a real RMC. You might also notice that the haunted houses are still here, because it would make sense for them to. I think that was all the changes for this stage. I'm actually going to go back one because I forgot to point it out. In Stage 9, one little hint as to what was coming is that back here, what's Alan Schilke doing? Alright, so we have now arrived at the final stage, Stage 11, and we have completed the Olympic Valley area by adding a modern B&M Hyper named Pegasus. So this is a lot of fun to build, and so one thing that I was experimenting with on this ride is if you take single rail track and you place it one tile below Hypercoaster or Hyper Twister track, it kind of looks like the bottom of the spine is painted a different color, which is something that a lot of B&Ms do. And it has a really nice look, in my opinion, which is why I, did it to the entire layout. This turnaround is kind of based on Fury's treble clef, but with a couple less turns and a little smaller, obviously. Yeah, I had a lot of fun building this. Just want to point out a couple things. So you can't right there. There's a couple of the Pegasus car ride trains just used as statues. Yeah, there's a maintenance building painted go away green. And a couple of vendors back here. Yeah, so that is my park. I, really like how it turned out. This contest was a lot of work. But, yeah, I'm happy with how it turned out. I guess a couple other things I'll point out is that all of my rides are technically ADA compliant because they have ramps at the exit, like most, modern roller coasters do. The one exception to that is Pegasus, which has an elevator, which you would enter the elevator through there and then go up. Yeah, I think that's about it. It's been quite a year and quite a process, but I'm happy with how this turned out. So, yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you all later.